The invitation came by text message, the first communication from my mother in 3 years. Your birthday is next Saturday. Come to my apartment at 2 p.m. I want to celebrate with you. I stared at the message for a long time. My 33rd birthday. The last time I'd seen my mother was on my 30th, when she told me I was wasting my life on a company that would never succeed, that I should get a real job before I ended up homeless. The company had completed its initial public offering 2 weeks ago. SecureNet, the cybersecurity platform I'd built for my studio apartment, was now publicly traded on NASDAQ with a valuation of $2.1 billion. I owned 38% of the shares. I was worth approximately $800 million on paper. The IPO had been covered extensively in the tech media, TechCrunch, Bloomberg, The Wall Street Journal, Forbes. My face had been on the cover of 2 industry magazines. We'd done the traditional bell-ringing ceremony at NASDAQ, and video of it had been posted all over social media. My mother, apparently, had missed all of it. I should have ignored her invitation, should have continued the estrangement that had given me peace for 3 years. But some part of me, the part that still remembered being a child who wanted her mother's approval, couldn't help hoping that maybe she changed. Maybe she'd reached out because she genuinely wanted to reconnect. I was wrong. I arrived at her apartment in Queens at exactly 2 o'clock. She lived in a decent 2-bedroom in a neighborhood that had been gentrifying for the past 5 years. I knew the rent was $3,800 a month. I knew because I'd been paying it anonymously for the past 4 years through a property management company. She didn't know. She thought some charitable fund had been covering her rent after she lost her administrative job and couldn't find another that paid enough. I'd set it up that way deliberately, using a trust structure that kept my identity hidden. I told myself I was doing it because she was my mother, because I didn't want her to be homeless, because despite everything, I still had some sense of familial obligation. Looking back, I think I was just hoping that if I took care of her from a distance, maybe someday she'd realize I wasn't a failure. Maybe someday she'd be proud of me. I knocked on the door. She opened it with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. You came. I wasn't sure you would. You invited me, I said simply. Come in. I have some people here who want to see you. The first red flag should have been that phrase, people who want to see you, not friends, not family, just people. I walked into the living room and stopped. Sitting on the couch were 3 people I hadn't seen since high school. Jennifer Torres, who'd spent 2 years making my life miserable, spreading rumors that I slept with teachers for grades, pouring juice on my homework, tripping me in hallways. Marcus Webb, who'd called me names I still couldn't repeat, who'd shoved me into lockers, who'd once pushed me down a flight of stairs. And Brittany Kim, who'd organized the systematic social exclusion that left me eating lunch alone for 3 years, who created fake social media accounts to send me hateful messages, who convinced other students I was diseased. My childhood bullies, in my mother's apartment, on my birthday. Surprise, my mother said behind me. I thought it would be nice to have a reunion. You all were so close in school. Close, that's what she called it. Close. Mom, what is this? I asked quietly. Oh, don't be dramatic. Jennifer reached out to me on Facebook last year. We've been chatting. She mentioned how you all used to know each other. I thought it would be fun. Jennifer stood up. Happy birthday, Sarah. Long time no see. She said it with the same smirk she'd worn in high school, the one that meant she was about to do something cruel and get away with it. I should go, I said, turning toward the door. Wait, my mother said, her voice edged now. You're not going to run away like you always do, like you ran away from everything, from your family, from responsibility, from reality. I didn't run away. I built a life. You built a fantasy, she said. Playing with computers in your apartment, pretending you're some kind of entrepreneur. You're 33 years old with no real job, no husband, no children. You're exactly where you were in high school. Nothing. Jennifer laughed. Marcus grinned. Brittany pulled out her phone. That's why I invited them, my mother continued, her voice growing louder. So you could see that nothing has changed. You're still the same scared little girl who couldn't stand up for herself. You're still nothing. She looked at my former bullies. Show her she's still nothing. And they did. Jennifer started with a comment about my clothes, simple jeans and a sweater, the same kind of thing I'd worn in high school because I couldn't afford trendy fashion. She made it sound like a moral failing. Marcus added comments about my appearance, my weight, my hair. The same insults from 15 years ago, delivered with the same casual cruelty. Brittany didn't say anything. She just held up her phone, recording, the way she used to take photos of me to post online with cruel captions. My mother watched with her arms crossed, nodding along like they were making valid points. I stood there for about 30 seconds, letting them perform their cruelty, feeling like I was 17 again. Then I picked up my purse and walked to the door. "Where are you going?" my mother demanded. "You can't just leave. This is your birthday party." "Goodbye, Mom," I said quietly and left. I didn't cry in the elevator. I didn't cry walking to my car. I got in my Tesla, drove home to my apartment in Manhattan, and sat on my couch for an hour just processing what had happened. My mother had invited my childhood bullies to my birthday. She had orchestrated a reunion specifically to humiliate me. She had told them to show me I was nothing. She had no idea what I'd become. No idea that 2 weeks ago I'd stood on the Nasdaq floor and watched my company go public. No idea that the computer games she'd mocked for a decade had become a platform used by 15,000 companies to protect their networks. No idea that I employed 240 people. No idea that Forbes had just listed me as one of the most successful female tech founders under 40. She had no idea because she'd never asked, never looked, never cared enough to Google my name or check LinkedIn or read any of the articles that had been published about me and my company. She'd been too busy thinking I was a failure to notice I'd succeeded. I made one phone call that evening to Richard Chen, the property manager who'd been handling my mother's rent payments for 4 years. "Richard, this is Sarah Morrison. I need to cancel the arrangement we have for the unit at 847 Vernon Avenue." "Cancel? Are you sure?" "That's been running smoothly for 4 years. I'm sure. Effective immediately. Final payment was this month. Starting next month, the tenant is responsible for full rent." "Understood. I'll process the termination and notify the tenant tomorrow. Thank you." I hung up and sat in silence. 4 years of payments, $3,800 a month. I paid over $180,000 to keep my mother housed while she told people I was a failure. The next morning, Richard called my mother to inform her that her rent subsidy had been terminated. He told me later that she'd been hysterical, demanding to know why, insisting there must be a mistake, crying about how she couldn't afford the rent without help. He'd explained patiently that the arrangement had been funded by a private benefactor who'd chosen to end the agreement. He could not disclose the benefactor's identity. She had 30 days to either pay the rent herself or vacate the unit. She called me 16 times that day. I didn't answer. She texted me 43 messages. I didn't respond. She showed up at my old address, the studio apartment in Brooklyn I hadn't lived in for 2 years. The current tenant called the police. 3 days after her rent subsidy ended, someone tagged her in a LinkedIn post. One of her former coworkers congratulating me on SecureNet's successful IPO, sharing an article from TechCrunch with my photo prominently displayed. CEO Sarah Morrison, the article read, had built SecureNet from nothing into a $2.1 billion company in 8 years. My mother called me from a number I didn't recognize. I answered without thinking. "You." Her voice was shaking. "It was you. You're the one who's been paying my rent. Yes. You have millions of dollars and you're going to let me get evicted. You invited my childhood bullies to my birthday and told them to show me I'm nothing. Yes, I'm going to let you get evicted." That was just supposed to be motivational, to make you wake up and do something with your life. I built a company worth over $2 billion. I employ hundreds of people. I've created something that matters. What exactly did you think I needed to wake up from? I didn't know about the company. You never asked. In 10 years, you never once asked what I was building. You just assumed I was failing because that's what you wanted to believe. I'm your mother. You can't do this to me. You're right. I can't do this to you. You did this to yourself. I spent 4 years paying your rent anonymously because I thought maybe if I took care of you, you'd eventually see that I wasn't what you believed I was, but you never looked. You were too busy telling me I was nothing. So you're going to make me homeless? You're going to have to pay rent like everyone else. Get a job. Get a roommate. Move somewhere cheaper. Do what the rest of us do when we can't afford something. Figure it out. This is cruel. No. Inviting people who tormented me for years to mock me on my birthday was cruel. Calling me a failure while I was building a company was cruel. This is just me stopping my participation in your delusion. I hung up and blocked the number. The eviction notice was served 28 days later when she failed to pay rent. She tried to fight it, claimed she'd been promised lifetime assistance, couldn't prove it because the arrangement had always been deliberately anonymous. The judge gave her 30 more days to vacate. She called my siblings, my 3 younger brothers who'd always been her golden children. They believed her story for years, that I was the difficult daughter who'd abandoned the family, who thought she was too good for them. Now she was telling them I was refusing to help her, that I had millions and was letting her become homeless out of spite. My youngest brother, Michael, was the one who finally reached out to me. He sent a careful text message. "Mom says you won your company or something and now you won't help her with rent. Is that true?" I sent him a link to the TechCrunch article about SecureNet's AITA. Then I sent him a screenshot of the rent payments I'd been making for 4 years. Then I told him exactly what had happened at my birthday party. He called me 2 hours later. I had no idea about any of it. The company, the rent payments, what she did. She didn't tell you what she was planning? No. She just said she was having a birthday party for you. Said she was trying to reconnect. I told him about Jennifer, Marcus, and Brittany, about what they'd done to me in high school, what my mother had known about it then, and what she'd orchestrated now. "That's disturbing," Michael said quietly. "That's genuinely disturbing. What kind of parent does that?" "The kind who's been telling people I'm a failure for a decade while I was building a billion-dollar company." Michael was quiet for a moment. "The rent payments, you've been taking care of her this whole time, and she didn't even know. I thought if I helped her, eventually she'd see that I was doing okay, that I wasn't what she thought I was. I was wrong. She didn't want to see me succeed. She wanted me to fail so she could feel superior." "What are you going to do about the eviction?" "Nothing. She's an adult. She'll figure it out." My mother moved in with my oldest brother and his wife 2 months later. The arrangement lasted 6 weeks before they asked her to leave after she made a comment about their daughter's weight that sent the child into tears. She moved in with Michael next. That lasted 3 months before his girlfriend gave him an ultimatum. She's currently living in a studio apartment in a cheaper neighborhood, working part-time at a grocery store, and telling anyone who will listen that her ungrateful daughter abandoned her despite having millions. My brothers now know the truth. My extended family has mostly figured it out. The ones who matter know that I spent 4 years anonymously supporting a woman who told my childhood bullies to show me I was nothing. SecureNet continues to grow. We're valued at over $3 billion now. I've bought a house in the Hudson Valley. Nothing ostentatious, just a peaceful place with good internet and a garden. I've donated substantial amounts to anti-bullying programs and scholarship funds for girls studying computer science. And I've stopped trying to win my mother's approval. Some people will never see you for who you are because they need you to be who they decided you were. My mother needed me to be a failure because my success would mean acknowledging she'd been wrong about me for 30 years. I gave her 4 years of anonymous support, $180,000, and countless chances to see me clearly. She chose instead to invite my bullies to prove I was nothing. So I let her discover exactly what nothing actually looks like. No more secret benefactor, no more safety net, just the natural consequences of her choices. I've been asked if I regret cutting her off, if I feel guilty about the eviction, if I plan to reconcile someday. I don't, and no. Some bridges burn themselves. I just stopped pretending the ashes were a path forward. Hi, I'm Jessica William, a 29-year-old marketing executive at Tech Vibe, one of Boston's fastest-growing startups. 3 years ago, I thought I had everything figured out. I met my husband Charles at a tech conference where I was presenting our company's latest marketing campaign. Charles, a brilliant software engineer, seemed captivated by my talk on digital marketing strategies. Within a year, we were married, and I believed I'd found someone who supported my dreams. "You're like a female Steve Jobs," he'd say, making me blush with pride. Then his parents started visiting more frequently, and things took a turn. My father-in-law, Matthew, a big-shot real estate developer, would sit across the dinner table with a smug smile that I grew to despise. "Jessica, still playing office while other women are building families?" He'd jab. "I'm building both a career and a family, Matthew," I'd respond, gripping my fork tightly. My mother-in-law, Barbara, would just adjust her pearl necklace, avoiding eye contact. My best friend, Rachel, saw right through them. At our housewarming party, she pulled me aside after Matthew lectured everyone about traditional family values. That man gives me serious control freak vibes, she whispered. Later, I vented to Charles about Matthew's remarks, but he brushed it off. Dad's just old school, don't take it personally. My parents, Mike and Linda, were a breath of fresh air whenever they visited. They'd remind me of the value of chasing my dreams. You're killing it, sweetie, Dad would beam, while Mom would share stories of her own career battles. Remember, Jessica, a woman's worth isn't measured by her cooking skills, she'd say after another tense dinner with my in-laws. But Matthew's jabs kept coming. At every family gathering, he'd belittle my job. Marketing, isn't that just making pretty pictures on Facebook? When are you giving Charles some real happiness? A woman's true calling is in the home, don't you think? Eventually, I noticed subtle changes in Charles. He'd make odd comments about couples where the wife stayed home. They seem so happy, don't they? Rachel warned me, men like Matthew don't stop until they get their way. I brushed it off, insisting Charles would never let his dad control our marriage, but the knot in my stomach was hard to ignore. At the Williams' annual Easter gathering, I overheard Matthew in the study, offering Charles a VP position at his company. A real man provides enough so his wife doesn't need to work, he said. Your marriage is becoming the family joke. I felt sick, but stayed quiet. Later that week, Charles suggested, maybe you could consult part-time. We could travel more. Quit my job. I asked, shocked. I just landed the Samsung account. He shrugged. We don't need both incomes. When I showed Rachel the text I found on Charles' phone, handle your home situation and the VP position is yours. Barbara will help Jessica adjust. She was furious. This is manipulation, she said. We need to document everything. Soon after, Karen, Charles' cousin, reached out over LinkedIn saying, I saw your post about the Samsung deal. There's something you should know. Over coffee, she told me how Uncle Matthew pressured her mother to quit teaching. When she refused, he spread rumors that she was neglecting her family and the marriage didn't survive. Matthew's been telling everyone you're too ambitious and neglecting Charles, Karen warned. The signs were everywhere. Charles started having regular business lunches with his dad, and our joint account showed a suspicious $50,000 transfer. What's this for? I asked, my voice tight. It's Dad's new development project, Charles replied. You didn't think to discuss it with me first? He waved me off. Stop being so controlling, Jessica. With Rachel's help, I started a paper trail, forwarding texts, emails, everything. And girl, she urged, get your own bank account. The final straw came at a family dinner when Barbara pulled me aside. Matthew mentioned you've been missing work to go shopping. Is everything all right? I stared at her, appalled. What? I'd never. She gave a sympathetic smile. It's okay. We all struggle with work-life balance. That's why I chose family. That night, I confronted Charles. Your dad's spreading lies about me. He's just concerned. Maybe if you spent more time at home. More time doing what? Being barefoot and pregnant? I snapped. Don't be dramatic. Dad's offering me an amazing opportunity, with strings attached to my career. I called Karen again. How did your mom handle it? She didn't, Karen said grimly. And that's why they won. You need to be smarter, collect evidence. These men think they're untouchable, so they always leave a paper trail. Little did they know, I was already building my case. The missing money in our account was just the beginning. I hired a financial investigator who traced our missing funds. The investment in William Enterprises, it's actually funding a shell company, the investigator explained, handing me documents. Karen called shortly after with more bombshells. The feds are investigating Uncle Matthew for fraud, she revealed. That development project, it's a massive Ponzi scheme. Later, I got a text from Tom, Charles' coworker. Heads up, saw Charles interviewing at Apex Corp yesterday. Thought you should know. That night, I confronted Charles, laying out the bank statements. Where's the rest of our savings? You're overreacting. Dad's project is solid. The project under federal investigation. His face went white. What are you talking about? Cut the act, Charles. I know about the shell company and the Apex interview. You're spying on me now. He exploded. You're just as career-obsessed as they say. Then my work phone rang. It was Maria, my boss. Jessica, we received some troubling emails from a Matthew William claiming you've been leaking company data. Matthew has no connection to Tech Vibe, I said, my voice shaking. This is harassment. I showed Maria the documentation Rachel helped me compile. At an emergency meeting, I laid everything out. After reviewing the evidence, Maria turned to me. These accusations are clearly harassment. We're behind you, Jessica. That night, Charles was packing a bag. Dad says I can stay at their guest house while we figure things out. Figure out what, Charles? How to destroy my career. You're choosing your job over our marriage. No, you're choosing your father's manipulation over your wife. Karen called with one last piece of information. There are more victims, Jessica. Aunt Patricia. Matthew got her fired from her law firm. And Charles' ex-girlfriend, Jenny, she lost her teaching job after refusing to quit. How many women? At least 5. It's his pattern. Pressure, lies, then financial blackmail. Charles made one last attempt. Dad's willing to forget everything if I just what? Become another trophy wife for him to control. He's trying to protect our family. No, he's trying to protect his ego. And those missing funds, they're funding his fraud. You don't understand business. I understand enough to know the feds are circling. Get out, Charles. I'm done. After you left, Barbara called, crying. I should have warned you. I saw what Matthew did to the others. Why didn't you stop him? He controlled all our money. I couldn't. I looked at the evidence spread across my desk. Bank statements, emails, testimonies from other women Matthew had sabotaged. He'd finally messed with the wrong daughter-in-law. The divorce papers landed on my desk the same morning the FBI raided William Enterprises. Your documents were crucial to our investigation, Agent Thompson confirmed. Matthew's fraud scheme goes back decades. As I watched the news coverage, my phone buzzed. It was Barbara. I'm staying with my sister. I finally filed for divorce. He drained our accounts yesterday, but I have copies of everything. Use my lawyer. She's a shark. And Jessica, I'm proud of you. After 30 years, I found my spine. Did you hear? Rachel burst into my office, waving a newspaper. Charles got fired. Security escorted him out. His company found out about his connection to the fraud. He's radioactive in tech now. Nobody will touch him. They're even investigating his old projects for data breaches. Maria called an emergency meeting with the executive team. With our Samsung campaign success hitting $100 million and recent events showing your integrity, we're promoting you to Chief Marketing Officer. The board vote was unanimous. The good news kept coming. Karen rallied other victims for federal testimony. 2 years later, after a board meeting, I was leaving the office when a familiar face appeared in the lobby. Jessica, please, can we talk? Just 5 minutes, Charles pleaded. Security. I'm working retail now. At the mall. I was wrong. Dad controlled everything. I lost everything. Like you tried controlling me? Like you stole our savings. I said, my voice cold. That's the exit, Charles. Use it. The next day, during a Women in Tech mentoring session, a news alert popped up on my phone. Breaking. Matthew Williams sentenced to 15 years for fraud. Judge cites systematic abuse of power and trust. One of the interns raised her hand. Is it true you helped bring down a corporate criminal while launching a global marketing campaign? I smiled. I brought down more than that. I brought down a system that thought it could crush women's dreams. Now, who's ready to learn about breaking glass ceilings? Karen and I launched a support network for career women facing family and societal pressures. At our first event, the convention center was packed. Remember when Uncle Matthew thought he was untouchable? Karen laughed at the launch party. Now he's trading designer suits for Prison Orange. Barbara was there too, thriving in her new real estate agency, a testament to her newfound freedom. Charles was folding sweaters at the mall. Matthew was making license plates. Rachel raised a glass. To Karma, and to my best friend, the newest member of Forbes 40 Under 40. The following week, Maria approved our new mentorship initiative with a 7-figure budget. Your program is exactly what this industry needs. The board wants to take it national. Standing in my corner office, I looked at the framed headline on the wall. William Enterprises collapse reveals decades of fraud. Women leaders emerge stronger. I smiled, feeling the impact of what we built. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just success. It's making sure you're not the last success story. Let them try to stop us now. Now let's turn the question to you. What would you do if you discovered your spouse wasn't just betraying you, but actively conspiring with their family to destroy your career? Would you gather evidence quietly, like Jessica, or confront them immediately? And here's an even deeper question. If your spouse's parent was trying to control your life through financial manipulation, would you try to save your marriage first, or protect your career? Let's talk about that $50,000 transfer Charles made behind Jessica's back. Was that the biggest red flag, or was it when he started suggesting she should quit her job? At what point do you think Jessica should have realized her marriage was beyond saving? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer, a 32-year-old marketing executive with a passion for fitness and wellness. I even run a blog called Strength Within, where I share tips and personal experiences to inspire others. 2 years ago, I married Thomas, thinking I found my soulmate. He supported my healthy lifestyle completely. We'd go on morning runs, meal prep on Sundays, and even brainstorm content for my blog. It felt perfect, until we moved closer to his mother, Lisa. Lisa lived in a gated community, claiming her health required proximity to family. At first, I was hopeful about the move, but her influence quickly turned my perfect marriage into a nightmare. Jennifer, darling, she'd coo at family dinners, you simply must try my pot roast. Though perhaps a smaller portion for you. She'd say this while setting down a food scale to measure my plate. Everyone else was served normally. Mom, stop. This is embarrassing. Thomas would protest weakly, but he'd cave as soon as Lisa replied, I'm just trying to help, dear. She always managed to slip in comments like Susan, Thomas's first wife, understood the importance of portion control. Such a lovely figure she kept. Her best friend Karen would nod knowingly. Oh yes, Susan was always so conscious of her appearance. She'd add, dismissing my accomplishments as a former state swimming champion. It wasn't just the dinners. Lisa's scrutiny seeped into every corner of my life. One evening, I overheard her on the phone. I'm really concerned about Jennifer's relationship with food. Thomas never had these issues with Susan. When I confronted Thomas, he shrugged, saying, she only wants what's best for the family. The turning point came when Lisa started showing up uninvited. One day, as I prepared for a major client presentation, she breezed into my office. Working such long hours, no wonder Thomas eats alone so often. You know how he loves a home-cooked meal, just like Susan used to make. Her jabs grew bolder. Is that outfit really appropriate for someone in your position? She said, eyeing my professional attire. The hemline is rather ambitious. It wasn't just verbal barbs. I started noticing strange things happening at work, emails disappearing, meetings mysteriously rescheduled. My assistant eventually let it slip. Some woman keeps calling HR, claiming to be your mother-in-law. She's concerned about your mental health. The final straw came at home. My gym equipment was tampered with, the weights dangerously loose. I could have been seriously injured. Lisa's reaction. Oh dear, why not speak to my friend, Dr. Roberts? Just a friendly chat. Thomas agrees it would be best. When I met Dr. Roberts, the trap became clear. Your mother-in-law tells me you've been struggling with body image and aggressive tendencies, he said. That's when I knew I had to take action. I started documenting everything. Voice recordings of Lisa's helpful comments, photos of tampered equipment, screenshots of my canceled appointments. Then Ashley, the daughter of one of Lisa's friends, approached me at the gym. Mom told me not to say anything, she whispered, but I overheard Lisa on the phone with your HR department. She said you might need medical leave, for your own good. Lisa had weaponized her social circle, country club gossips, charity committee members, even the neighborhood watch, to spread the narrative of the unstable daughter-in-law. I just don't know what to do about Jennifer, I overheard her telling the garden club. She's becoming paranoid, imagining I'm sabotaging her. Susan went through a similar phase before her unfortunate departure. My phone buzzed with a text from Thomas. Mom thinks we should have dinner with Dr. Roberts tomorrow. She's worried about you. I stared at my reflection in the office window, recalling the strong, confident woman I used to be, a competitive swimmer who never backed down from a challenge. Lisa wanted to break me just like she broke Susan. But she had no idea who she was dealing with. I opened my laptop and started a new document, evidence of harassment and manipulation. Game on, Lisa, game on. I needed answers. Susan was the key. We met at a coffee shop 2 towns over, safely away from Lisa's network of spies. Her hands trembled as she stirred her coffee. It's not just about control, she whispered, glancing around nervously. It's about money and power. Lisa keeps her sons trapped through their businesses. She secretly owns majority shares. If they disobey, she threatens to pull funding. That's why Thomas has been so distant. She did the same to my Thomas. Then came the bombshell. Susan leaned in, her voice dropping further. There are cameras everywhere. The bedroom, kitchen, even the bathroom. When I confronted Thomas, he called me paranoid. That's when I knew I had to leave. My skin crawled. I thought about the odd devices I'd noticed at home, in air vents behind picture frames. Lisa's reach extended further than I imagined. Later that night, Sandra called me in a hushed tone. I found something in David's office, documents from Lisa's foundation. She's been laundering money through fake charity events. There's proof of tax evasion, too. The pieces started falling into place. Lisa wasn't just a controlling mother-in-law. She was running an empire of manipulation. David, Sandra's husband, finally opened up during a secret meeting. She had our father's will change on his deathbed, he revealed bitterly. Convinced him we couldn't handle the inheritance. The guilt killed him. Then I learned the truth about Dr. Roberts. I overheard him on the phone while picking up takeout. Yes, Cousin Lisa, don't worry. I'll adjust my report accordingly. Jennifer seems unstable. That was the final straw. I began reaching out to others Lisa had hurt. Former daughters-in-law, ex-business partners, and old friends. Each had a story of betrayal and control. Then came Karen's breakdown. She showed up at my office, mascara running. I can't do this anymore, she sobbed. Lisa never had health issues. She faked cancer 3 times to keep her sons close. She's a monster, and I have proof. Medical records she forged. The full scope of her schemes became clear. Sabotage contracts, blackmail through her charity's donor list, and even fake auctions to launder money. Every tactic was designed to isolate, destabilize, and dominate. I compiled everything: financial records, recordings, photos, and statements. Lisa thought she was weaving a web to trap me. Instead, she handed me the threads to unravel her empire. At our last dinner, she sneered, "You're just like Susan, unstable, paranoid, delusional." "No, Lisa," I replied, meeting her gaze. "I'm nothing like Susan. I don't run. I fight back." The annual charity gala was Lisa's crowning achievement, a glittering event where the who's who gathered to fawn over her supposed generosity. It was also the perfect stage for her downfall. "Such a lovely evening," Lisa beamed from the podium. "Thanks to your generous donations, our foundation continues to help those in need." The federal agents walked in right on cue. "What's the meaning of this?" Lisa demanded, her voice cracking as they approached. Sandra stood up, her voice ringing through the room. "The meaning? Check your phones, everyone. You'll find proof of how Lisa has been stealing from her own charity for years, funneling donations into her mansion renovations and designer wardrobe." Gasps rippled through the ballroom as hundreds of phones pinged with notifications. Lisa's carefully curated facade shattered in real time. "She's lying," Lisa shrieked. "Thomas, David, tell them." But David stepped forward, his voice firm. "It's over, Mom. I've already transferred control of the family businesses. You're out." Thomas stood frozen, pale and shaking as the truth sunk in. The cameras, the contracts, everything she said. It's all true. "Thomas," I said calmly, locking eyes with him, "you'll be served with divorce papers tomorrow. I'd wish you good luck, but honestly, I don't care anymore." Karen stepped forward, holding a folder of documents. "I have copies of every forged medical record, Lisa. Your fake cancer claims? The hospital foundation's board will be very interested in these." Dr. Roberts tried slipping out unnoticed, but representatives from the medical board intercepted him at the exit. "Your license is suspended," one of them said, "pending an investigation into ethics violations and false reporting." Lisa, the once imposing matriarch, crumbled before everyone's eyes. Her designer dress suddenly looked cheap, her perfectly applied makeup garish under the harsh light of exposure. 6 months later, I stood in the middle of my newly opened wellness center, dedicated to helping survivors of family abuse rebuild their lives. In the background, the news played. Socialite Lisa faces federal charges for tax evasion and charity fraud. Her estate has been seized, and sources report she's now living in a modest apartment outside town. I smiled faintly and turned back to the group at our first retreat. My life had grown so much bigger than the wreckage Lisa left behind. David and Sandra occasionally check in. They're doing well, running the family business ethically. Susan joined my foundation, using her story to help others navigate and recover from manipulation and control. And Thomas? Last I heard, he's in therapy, real therapy this time, not his mother's cousin posing as a doctor. Good for him. Too little, too late. A few days ago, a letter arrived, Lisa's handwriting scrawled on the envelope. It was some long-winded apology, a product of her generation, wanting the best for her family, being truly sorry. I didn't bother reading it. I marked it returned to sender and went back to planning the center's expansion. Yesterday, I ran into Karen at the supermarket. Lisa tried joining the senior center's bridge club, she said, smirking. Nobody would play with her. She just sat there alone until she left. I shrugged and pushed my cart forward. My life's too full to care about revenge now. Today, a package arrived. Security footage from the hidden cameras Lisa installed in my old home. I added it to the thick file labeled close, locked it away in a cabinet, and walked out of the office. Some people keep photo albums from their marriages. I collected evidence. But that chapter of my life is over. If you were in my shoes when Thomas repeatedly chose his mother's side, would you have given him a second chance, knowing he was also a victim of Lisa's manipulation? Or was I right to walk away completely? The hardest part of leaving a toxic relationship isn't just walking out, it's staying gone. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hi everyone, I'm Patricia. At 32, I built a thriving practice helping people transform their lives through nutrition, but nothing compared to the joy I felt on my wedding day 5 years ago. It was during the reception when James's grandmother, Barbara, pulled me aside. "Come here, sweetheart," she said, her eyes twinkling as she slipped off her vintage diamond ring. "This ring has been worn by the strongest women in our family for 3 generations. Now, it's your turn." I remember tearing up as she placed it on my finger. The antique setting sparkled with tiny diamonds surrounding a brilliant center stone. Martha, my mother-in-law, hugged me tightly and whispered, "Welcome to the family." Truly, everything felt perfect until James's younger sister, Susan, moved back home after her divorce 6 months ago. At the first Sunday dinner after Susan's return, I caught her staring at my ring. "That ring is absolutely gorgeous," she gushed, grabbing my hand across the dinner table. "Grandmother had such amazing taste." "Indeed she did," Martha smiled. "And Patricia takes such good care of it." But something felt off. Every Sunday dinner became an endless stream of Susan's comments about the ring. "Remember when grandmother used to let me try it on?" she'd muse. Or, "Grandmother always said I had the same delicate fingers as hers." Then came the stories. "Oh, Patricia, did I ever tell you about how grandmother promised me her jewelry collection before she passed?" she would say, her voice dripping with sweetness. She had such a special bond with her only granddaughter. Last Sunday, I was helping Martha in the kitchen when I glimpsed Susan through the doorway. She was holding my hand up to the light, supposedly admiring the ring again. But I noticed her phone in her other hand, snapping photos. Later, Martha commented with concern. "She's been asking a lot about the ring lately, claims she's just feeling nostalgic after the divorce." "I've noticed," I replied, twisting the ring nervously on my finger. "Something doesn't feel right." James dismissed my worries. "Babe, she's just going through a rough time. You know how sentimental she gets about family stuff." But I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling, the way Susan's eyes followed my every movement, the way she managed to bring up the ring in every conversation, the secret photos. It all felt calculated, like she was planning something. I just never imagined how far she'd go to get what she wanted. It all came to a head during what was supposed to be a typical Thursday evening family dinner at my in-laws. Susan cleared her throat, tapping her wine glass with a spoon. My stomach dropped at the sight of that familiar, manipulative smile. "Everyone, I have something important to share," she announced, pulling out her iPad. "I found this video while going through old memories." The grainy footage showed grandmother Barbara in her hospital bed. My heart raced as I recognized her final days. The video had clearly been edited. The jump cuts were obvious, but Susan's masterful manipulation had everyone entranced. "My dearest Susan," Barbara's weak voice crackled through the speakers, "I want you to have. Jump cut, my ring. Jump cut, it belongs to you." Martha gasped, her fork clattering against her plate. "Oh my, I had no idea Mother made such a promise." "That video is edited. I protested, my hands shaking. This isn't what happened. Are you calling my sister a liar? James snapped, making me flinch. I had never heard that tone from him before. James, honey, please. Susan dabbed at her eyes with a napkin. I didn't want to do this publicly, but I've been having such a hard time since my divorce. Seeing that ring on someone else's hand when grandmother explicitly wanted me to have it. It's just too painful. Martha reached across the table, patting Susan's hand. Patricia, dear, perhaps you should do the right thing. Family harmony is so important. It's just temporary, James added softly, not meeting my eyes. Until we figure this out. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang, making everyone jump. Martha's friend Rebecca had arrived early for their book club meeting. She stood frozen in the doorway, sensing the tension. Susan's voice turned sharp. Give me the ring, she demanded, her mask slipping. I'm the real granddaughter here. You're just some outsider who married in. My fingers went numb as 6 pairs of eyes bored into me. Even James, my supposed partner, sat silent as his sister attacked me. With trembling hands, I tried to remove the ring, but it stuck, almost like a final protest. Here, let me help. Susan grabbed my hand roughly, yanking the ring free. I watched in horror as she immediately slipped it onto her own finger, admiring how it caught the light. Perfect fit, she smirked. Just like grandmother always said. Rebecca cleared her throat from the doorway. Susan, isn't that the same trick you pulled with Caroline's earrings in college? Susan's head snapped up, her eyes flashing with warning. I don't know what you're talking about, Rebecca. This is a family matter. But the damage was done. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. Without a word, I grabbed my purse and walked out, ignoring James calling after me. As I reached my car, Rebecca hurried after me. Wait, she called. There's something you need to know, Susan, something that happened years ago. The next morning, Rebecca and I met at a quiet coffee shop downtown. She wrapped her hands tightly around her coffee mug, leaning forward. Susan's been doing this for years. In college, she stole her friend Caroline's family heirloom earrings, claiming her grandmother had promised them to her. She sold them to cover gambling debts. My mind raced. Could Susan have done the same with my ring? I needed proof. Later that day, I visited Mercy Hospital, where grandmother Barbara had spent her final days. Nurse Janet, who had cared for her, was still there. Susan? No, she never visited, Janet said, shaking her head as she checked the visitor logs. The only visitors were Martha, James, and you. You came every day after your nutrition clinic closed. Janet paused, then pulled out her phone. Actually, Mrs. Barbara asked me to record something for her. I still have it, but with everything that happened, I forgot to share it. The video showed grandmother, weak but clear-minded, speaking directly to the camera. Martha, make sure Patricia keeps the ring. Susan's been calling, demanding all my jewelry. But that ring belongs to Patricia. She has the pure heart this family needs. My hands trembled as I forwarded the video to Martha. Within minutes, my phone exploded with messages. Martha had discovered that Susan's deception went deeper. The family security cameras had captured Susan rifling through my purse during Sunday dinners, photographing my credit cards. Meet me at the bank, James texted urgently. You need to see this. At the bank, James looked devastated. Susan's been forging checks from our joint account. She has massive gambling debts, liens against her house. His voice cracked. She pawned Mom's pearl necklace months ago. While James dealt with the bank, I drove past Susan's house. Through the window, I saw her gesturing angrily on the phone. The ring on her finger sparkled, but something seemed off in the way it caught the light. Then Rebecca called. I just left the jewelry store where Susan's been hanging out. The owner confirmed she sold him a diamond ring matching your description 3 days ago. What she's wearing now is a cheap replica. I found records of her selling jewelry across 3 states, each time claiming they were promised to her. The pieces fell into place. The compliments, the photos, the fake video, all part of her calculated plan. But Susan had made one crucial mistake. She kept the fake ring. Martha called, her voice shaking. I've invited everyone for dinner tomorrow night. Susan thinks we're celebrating her getting the ring, but Janet's bringing the real video. The jeweler's coming to examine the fake ring, and Rebecca has gathered statements from Susan's other victims. I touched my bare finger where the ring used to sit. What about James? Will he stand with us? He's already called the police about the forged checks. Martha replied grimly. Susan went too far this time. I never imagined this was my daughter. Tomorrow night, everything changes. Looking at the mountain of evidence, the visitor logs, security footage, bank statements, and victim testimonies, I felt a strange calm. Susan thought she won, but her house of cards was about to collapse spectacularly. The next evening, Susan swept into the dining room in a designer dress, clearly bought with her ill-gotten gains. The fake ring sparkled unnaturally on her finger as she played the gracious hostess. I'm so glad we can all move past this unpleasantness, she said with a triumphant smile, barely disguising her victory dance. Just as we sat down for dinner, Martha's friend David, who, unbeknownst to Susan, was a certified gemologist, arrived. Susan, too busy flaunting her heirloom, barely noticed him. Susan, dear, Martha spoke up during dessert. Would you let David take a closer look at the ring? He's always had such an interest in family heirlooms. Susan's smile faltered just for a second. Oh, I wouldn't want to take it off. It's so special to me. Please, Martha insisted, her voice carrying a steely edge I had never heard before. David examined the ring under his portable loupe, his expression darkening. This is cubic zirconia in a brass setting, worth maybe $50. The color drained from Susan's face. That's impossible, she stammered. Right on cue, Rebecca entered the room, a folder clutched in her hands. Is it? She said, her voice cutting through the silence. Because I have the receipt from Crown Jeweler showing you sold the real ring 3 days before that family dinner. You went through my things. Susan shrieked, backing away from the table. Like you went through my purse, I countered, my voice steady. The security cameras caught everything, Susan. James connected his laptop to the TV, playing grandmother Barbara's real video message. The room fell silent as Barbara's weak but unmistakable voice filled the air, explicitly naming me as the rightful owner of the ring. Susan's elaborate house of lies crumbled before our eyes. It was just a loan, she sobbed, mascara streaming down her cheeks. I needed to cover some debts. I was going to buy it back. Like you were going to buy back Mom's pearls? James's voice cracked. Or replace Caroline's earrings. We found everything, Susan. Every pawn shop, every victim, every lie. You don't understand. Susan screamed, her desperation palpable. I deserve that ring. I'm blood family. Blood family doesn't steal, Martha said quietly. Blood family doesn't lie, or hurt their own for money. Panicking, Susan lunged for her purse. But David blocked her path. The police have been notified about the forged checks, he said calmly. I suggest you stay. I stood up, my heart pounding but my voice clear. I'm not pressing charges over the ring. The room fell into stunned silence. Not because you deserve mercy, I continued, meeting Susan's bewildered gaze, but because I'm choosing to be better than you. The ring's gone, and honestly, I'm glad. It showed me exactly who you are. The next day, James retrieved the original ring from the pawn shop. But I handed it over to Martha for safekeeping. Some things, once broken, can't be fixed, like trust. 6 months later, Susan's gambling debts made local headlines. She had fled town, leaving behind a trail of debt and shattered relationships. I rarely saw the family anymore, except for Martha, who had become more of a mother to me than I ever imagined. On my birthday, Martha surprised me with a new ring, a simple band with a small diamond. This represents who you truly are, she said, her eyes warm. Strong, genuine, and impossible to fake. I wear it proudly, a reminder that family isn't about blood or inheritance. It's about truth, trust, and choosing to rise above those who try to drag you down. Have you ever forgiven someone who deliberately humiliated you in front of your family? Would you have pressed charges against Susan, or do you agree with my decision to take the high road? Sometimes the best revenge is showing others that their toxicity can't break you. Share your thoughts in the comments below.